I'm at another one of my favorite places, which is a treehouse I built for my kids in the backyard. But this is a Drake elm. It's a pretty impressive tree. It got blown over in one of the hurricanes, and I literally winched it back upright. And anyway, it has outgrown the other two Drake elms that I planted on the same time. So they're literally probably 20% of the mass of this tree. But anyway, that's a cool story. This tree also was fertilized by our dogs, so that it's in the dog pen or in the fenced-in area in the backyard. But anyway, today I want to talk about the Feast of the Tabernacle. The whole idea of Him coming to dwell with us. The Spirit of God with the children of Israel, in Exodus, where they made a place for Him to come and dwell in their midst, and they started celebrating that. And so the Feast of the Tabernacle, for centuries, have been celebrated because obviously God, His Spirit had never dwelt among men, and obviously that was a big deal. In celebration of that, the Jewish nation would sacrifice, and again, this is my understanding, I stand to be corrected, but 70 animals, one for every known tongue. So it was an invitation to the nations to participate in the blessings that God has shown the nation of Israel. And it was also considered the Feast of Joy. So when Gabriel says to the shepherds, "Behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy to all nations," the shepherds would have gone, we know it's the Feast of the Tabernacle. What are you talking about? Because it was the Feast of Joy and the Feast to the Nations. So that was sort of the generic greeting for the Feast of the Tabernacle. But Gabriel says you will find the Messiah, i.e. God, literally in a Sukkot in Bethlehem. And so the prophetic fulfillment of the Feast of the Tabernacle is that Christ came and was born. So Him dwelling here on earth, it's His birthday. And so those blood moons of 14 and 15 on our calendar of 2014, 2015 were both on His birthday. The whole world made a big deal about, these incredible moons. And many times that full moon, that seventh full moon after the spring equinox is larger and all this kind of stuff. And again, the whole world makes a big deal about it, and they don't even recognize that they're making a big deal about the Messiah coming to dwell with us. And so the whole thing about a full moon, we don't worship the celestial creation, but we do recognize it as signs, or we can. And the point being is, I look at the whole like smoke screen that the demonic realm creates around a full moon, as people are crazy, werewolves, and all this kind of stuff. That full moon should remind us not only that Christ came as far as His birth, He was also crucified on a full moon, which was that 15th day of the first month. So when you see a full moon, again, it should remind you and me that not only did Christ come, but he died. So in Zechariah, it says, it draws a setting of what I would consider the millennial kingdom, and with Christ here righteously, perfectly governing this world. We'll be reigning with him. What does that mean? I'm not really sure. I think it will be that we will be ministering to the people, the gospel during the millennial kingdom, for the people that have lived through what we call Armageddon. Our ministry to them will be, he who is sitting on the throne in Jerusalem came, lived a perfect life, allowed himself to be crucified, rose from the grave, ascended into heaven, came back, defeated Satan and those aligned with him, and now is righteously ruling this world. And in Zechariah it says, for the Feast of the Tabernacle, we are all to go to Jerusalem to worship. And it says, and for those families who refuse to go, it says it won't rain on their land. And I'm curious, why is he making a big deal, or as far as the prophet, that we go to Jerusalem to worship for the Feast of the Tabernacle? It's his birthday. We're celebrating that he came to dwell with us. And at the end of the millennial kingdom, it says the beast is released to gather his own. And again, my understanding of the millennial kingdom is there's no demonic influence. It's just the impurity of the human heart that is rejecting truly the Messiah sitting here on the throne, perfectly governing this world. And so in Isaiah, I think it's 65:19, it says, if someone doesn't live to be 100 years old, they'll be considered cursed. And I believe it's talking about in that time period. I literally believe in your obedience, sort of like being baptized now as a believer, more it's symbolic, but you going to Jerusalem, and I think symbolically, but literally drinking from the river flowing from that throne, in essence, living water. Again, I believe it's all symbolic, but this is personal to me. I'm not sure how long. I'm not expecting to live 1,000 years if I'm a human during that time, but if you do die, then you come back and reign with the other believers who have passed or something. I really don't understand all that. But the main thing is we will be in the presence of the Messiah, Christ, on this earth. And the sad thing is there will still be people that reject him. I'd like to get in my personal testimony next time, but the whole idea of him coming to dwell with us goes right back to that Genesis 1:26. Let us make man in our image. He had to come. He had to make a way for us to be forgiven. We have one option to be with God in eternity, and that is to be forgiven. My theory is, the more you understand your forgiveness, the more compassionate you're going to be toward other people. Because the only difference between me and someone that, is living a debauched life is they don't understand God's forgiveness. And I don't want my sin listed next to anybody's and say, hey, I was better than you, because I'm embarrassed of stuff I've done. But I'm very humbled, and I really believe only reason I'm going to be in eternity in the presence of the creator of this world is because I'm forgiven because who his son is, and the life he led. So anyway, I'm going to sign off, but I'm going to keep them coming. Thank you.